Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to day two of our 1 week long online FDP on teaching and learning pedagogy with chatbots. I welcome all the participants to day two of this FDP. Before going ahead with today's discussion, we just a small recap of what we have covered yesterday. Yesterday, we began our discussion with uh, some of the more fundamental features of trying to utilize ChatGPT and how we can utilize the platform so as to modify the model, customize it depending upon our requirement, and then trying to see how we can go ahead with variety of its various versions and seeing some subcategories within inside it, like the canvas mode, etc., so as to create a wholesome environment by the means of which we can create some basic entry points or steps which can help us in the planning process of the teaching learning areas of various topics. We'll be circling back to ChatGPT in one of our upcoming sessions because there are a few of the features that it offers to us which are slightly more advanced, which I want to spend some time on. Before doing that, we're going to be talking about one of the next most well-known chatbots that can be utilized in this whole method of teaching learning, both in the in classroom actual teaching, also in the pre-planning stage or phase, as well as in the post-planning stage as well. So we're going to be talking about Gemini today, and I'm just going to share my screen and we will get started with the discussion for today's demo. So it will be same like yesterday. We'll do it just like that. I'll be just doing my demo in the first 45 minutes or so, and then we can have some questions at the end towards the end of the session. So now Gemini can be utilized for the whole process of teaching in two ways, directly as well as indirectly. We'll try to look at both of them. So directly means by the means of directly going onto the chatbot platform itself and trying to utilize in a manner similar to ChatGPT. And there are certain key features here which are absolutely very useful whenever we are trying to explain or learn or create any topic or ideate on a topic. Now, some of them are available under the tools category. We'll come back to that. But I'll start from the most latest feature that they've added recently. And by far, this is one of the best features that I found. So actually, it's not available here. What we would need to do is we would need to go to these three options right here, which allows us to expand the menu and go into this tab right here, which says Explore Gems. Now, under Explore Gems, we have quite a few options, as we can see. So we'll be coming back to a few of them. But the most interesting one, which I found, which can help us directly in the process of trying to make a session for a topic which we are introducing newly to our target audiences or target learners, by making it more interactive, more important than that, by making it more visual. And it is called as Storybook. Now, this can have a variety of use cases. What this does is it allows us to create visualized narratives of any topic or any idea that we are looking for. I'm going to do one right away, and we're going to see how it works. It's pretty simple. I just show it once again in case anybody's joined just now. What we did was we went to this option right here. We clicked on the storybook option. It comes directly on the top, or we can go to Explore Gems and we can come to this part right here, which is called as the Gem Manager. These are all the gems right here. And I clicked on this first one for my reference. And when I enter into this particular tab, what we can see is that there is a new output that comes in, and we can see that currently it's in experimental mode. So over a period of time, it would become much more specific and customized is what I'm thinking, and is what I've understood from it. So let's go ahead. We'll try to give it an example, and let's see if the mic works today. So as I mentioned, this can have a variety of use cases. The best use case which I have found which I have found so far for it is, which I've tried something also experimenting with a little bit in my classroom communication, is this example right here. This is the exact example that I did. I will just allow the microphone. Create a case study about barriers in communication for students of first year hospitality management. So this is what it does. Once a prompt is given to it, I can type the prompt alternatively also. What I did was I basically spoke the prompt to it, making it slightly bit more easier for us to, navigate and give it longer prompts, especially like yesterday when we wanted to have a much more layered version of a specific variety of subtasks that we wanted to create. So this whole process happens in 2 to 3 stages. In the first stage, what it will do is it will take our prompt and it will start creating a draft of it. And in the meantime, what I will do is I'll open another Gemini tab so that we can utilize the time while it generates its first draft. So another such important and interesting feature that we have inside of Gemini, which I found to be quite interesting, is this part right here. It's called a learning coach. It's basically trying to help the learners pace any learning topic or process that they are trying to look at. We should have generated. Just a second. Okay, I think I need to stay on the same tab. Sorry for that. I think I'll just stay on this tab right here. It should take maybe a minute or so. We can extend the time if required so that I can show all the parts that I want to showcase. In case I move my tabs, I think it is stopping some out this output somehow. So we'll just let it generate. In the meantime, let's not try to wait simply. We'll just wait for a minute or so for it to generate. In the meantime, if you have any questions from yesterday's discussion, please let me know. Any queries, any doubts from ChatGPT, if anybody has tried working on it while this generates, because I want to show the final version and the step-by-step process that it utilizes so as to know when to tweak it properly. Seems that it is taking slightly longer. So in case there are any questions, please feel free to unmute and you can ask a question. I won't be able to change my screen because otherwise I think it might stop again. So let's just let it finish generating. And once it does that, then we can move ahead from there. Usually it doesn't take this long. Seems today, maybe because I am parallelly sharing my screen also, the bandwidth is being shared among 2 resources. So maybe that's the reason why it is taking this long. Anyway, if this doesn't work, I'll show you what the final. Oh, there we go. Thankfully, it has started. So once the output is ready, it works into the input window like this. And this is exactly what I created. I think it has found one of my older chats and it has come back with the same one. And the only limitation that this thing has right now is that it doesn't let us download this with the output that I'm going to show you now. What it does, to, however, is it lets me convert it to a PDF and directly download it in the form of a PDF version. So now this can be utilized in 2 ways. One is I can take a copy of this, design my questions around this case study, which I can share in the form of a soft copy or hard copy, depending on what my preference is, and post which we can have a usual case study based simulation and discussion about the topic or the criteria or the ideas that this particular version has created. So this is what it looks like. As we can see, it's a beautiful version of animation plus a text next to it. I think it should have downloaded. Let me see. No. Okay. And a second version of doing this is I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second because I want to show you another way of doing this. Just give me a second. Stop sharing. I'll share a tab. Yeah, because there will be audio coming in. So I hope you can hear the audio as well. Okay, let's go into a full screen mode and we'll listen to it. So another way of doing this is by playing it like this and then doing a set of questions after that.
The Case of the Grand Majestic. Rohan, a first-year hospitality student, stood beaming in his crisp new uniform. His internship at the Grand
Is the audio audible? Please let me know so that I can go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Majestic Hotel was finally starting. He imagined flawlessly checking in VIPs and receiving rave reviews. I'm ready for anything, he thought, adjusting his name tag. His manager, Ms. Priya, greeted him with a warm but professional smile. Welcome, Rohan. Your first task is to shadow Mr. Gomes at the concierge desk. Listen carefully. In hospitality, what you don't hear is as important as what you do. Mr. Gomes, a man who had worked at the hotel for 30 years, spoke in a language of his own. Okay, kid. We've got a PITA on a fam trip, needs a rollaway for a +1, and the GM is comping his minibar. Got it? Rohan blinked. PITA? Fam trip? It was like trying to understand a secret code. He just nodded, not wanting to seem incompetent. Barrier 1. Jargon. Later, Rohan forgot to arrange the rollaway bed. The guest, a travel blogger on a familiarization trip, was unhappy. Mr. Gomes sighed. Kid, PITA means pain in the ankle. And if you don't understand the jargon, you must ask. Assuming is the fastest way to a complaint. Next, a guest from Germany approached, speaking English with a thick accent. I need a wake-up call for dry Erdi? He said, pointing to the number 3 on his watch. Rohan, struggling to understand, heard dry and thought he wanted laundry service. He smiled brightly. Of course, sir. I'll have someone collect your laundry right away. Barrier 2. Language and accents. The next morning, the guest was at the desk, furious. He had missed his 3:30 a.m. taxi to the airport. I said, Dreisig, 3:30. Not dirty, he fumed. Rohan's face burned with embarrassment. He hadn't clarified. Later that day, a woman rushed to the desk, her face streaked with tears. My daughter, her necklace, my grandmother gave it to her. It's gone, she sobbed. Rohan immediately went into problem-solving mode. Okay, ma'am, what's your room number? When did you last see it? I'll file a lost and found report. Barrier 3. Emotional disconnect. The woman grew more upset. A report? It's not just an item, it's a memory. Ms. Priya stepped in gently. She looked at the guest, making eye contact. I am so sorry this happened. It sounds incredibly precious. Let's walk through this together. Her empathetic tone instantly calmed the guest. That evening, Ms. Priya sat with Rohan. You faced 3 common barriers today, she explained. Jargon, which creates an in-group and excludes others. Language differences, where you assumed instead of clarifying. And emotional noise, where you focused on the procedure instead of the person's feelings. Rohan took a deep breath. He had made mistakes, but he had also learned. Communication wasn't just about speaking clearly. It was about asking for clarity, listening with empathy, and understanding the person behind the request. He returned to the desk, no longer just a student in a uniform, but a true, developing hospitality professional. Rohan took a deep breath.
So there are now multiple versions of taking this forward. One way would be to actually simply download this in case we don't have the accessibility to playing this audio, because as I said, this would require for us to be logged in into Gemini, and this can be played inside Gemini only as of now. Hopefully over a period of time, I am trying to download it. I did it twice, but I think somehow it is not getting downloaded right now, or maybe there's some problem. What it does, once I save it as a PDF, it will give me a PDF version of this exact same thing. And the best part about it is its simplification. No matter what kind of query I run into it using this particular option, it will create this version. They're calling it a storybook. They're calling it a storybook because it's in the form of a story which is narrated in 10 pages or in 10 slides or in 10 instances like this also. And the format remains exactly the same. On left side there would be a visual or a picture, and on the right side there would be a simple description addressing what the picture is talking about broadly under the umbrella of the topic that I have asked, or I have prepared in the form of a prompt, so as to get the query generated or according to my requirement. Now I think this one is ready. Let me just simply save it as a PDF. And I think the reason it is taking so much time is because I've shared my screen and bandwidth is being shared across multiple pages. So has anybody raised a hand? Please let me know if there's a question at this point, or is it by mistake? I'm sorry, I can't see your name. It says Academic Achievement Center. If there's any query, you can post it in the chat box. Otherwise, I'll take it up also at a later stage. Okay. I think it must have downloaded. Yeah. So now what I have done is I have created a PDF version of this, and it is being downloaded as we speak. Let me stop sharing my screen and this tab. I'll reshare the entire screen so we can see the next changes that I'm doing. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So now my entire screen should be visible again. And this is the downloaded version right here. This is what it looks like. It is pretty high resolution, so it will take a few seconds to open up. There might, depending on the device or the system we are using, it might experience some lag, but this is what it looks like. Now there are multiple ways of taking this forward. As I said, I can simply create questions manually if I want to, if there's a specific topic if I'm looking for, or else we can continue within the same version. I can keep it as it is, and I can do something like this, by the means of which I can utilize the example or take the help of this particular feature only and take it forward from here. So let's try that only. Using this particular case study, generate a worksheet of descriptive and objective questions for first year students of communication skills. So once we do that, it will take a few seconds, and on the basis of, okay, for this I think I need to go back outside Gemini and do it. But otherwise, it will recreate a storybook out of it. So let me go to a new chat. Now, this is what we can do. I can upload a downloaded version of this particular text that I have applied, and this case study download, and then I can ask it to give me a set of case study questions from there. So let's try that as well. So reapplying the same version which Gemini created for us and utilizing it to as a primary source, so or as a primary text, so as to get the final version that we're looking for. And another good thing about Gemini is that we don't have to switch between the models with the current version, and it automatically allows us to see what steps it is following. And there we go. Since I have asked for a worksheet, it is exactly following that pattern. There's a reading comprehension, identifying barriers, and so on and so forth. And if I go to sources, it will show me this entire page from it has downloaded this. Now, apart from this, I can also do something else. Let me see if I can find it. It should actually come directly, but I don't know why it is not showing here. Oh yeah, there we go. Share and export. I can simply export this to docs, and in the same Gmail account that I'm using to access Gemini, it will automatically open a doc file for me, which I can open with this hyperlink here inside my drive, where I can see a version of the same entire worksheet which I have created, which can then be modified further from here depending upon my requirement. So this is one of the most interesting features that Gemini has to offer us. This is the first one. It's called the story mode. And in this way, we can design a lot of numerous in-classroom discussions, exercises, visuals, etc., and really tweak the session depending on how we want to take it forward. In fact, this can be given as a pre-classroom activity, also pretty short audio visual that they can listen to. Won't hardly would take around 5-7 minutes, and then prompt a discussion from there, and maybe design some depth of knowledge questions on that basis. So another second option, which I was showing before we came back to the storybook idea, was this part right here, which is called as a learning coach. And learning coach is pretty similar to study and learn feature of ChatGPT, but since it is here, I'm showing this also. This is very straightforward. It is following the same instructional approach that the guided learning model was following inside of ChatGPT, and based on the topic or the question that we enter, it will give us a set of responses which we have to respond to. And then we can sort of have an interaction with it to brainstorm on a idea that I'm trying to learn or I'm trying to sort of get acquainted with. So there are numerous prompts that we can give. I'll go with this one only. It's about Pride and Prejudice as a novel or a film, and it's an example prompt, so it will give the output faster because there are other options I want to show. So this is another really good thing. It allows us to see the exact process that it follows, and then after that, it will ask us a question if required, and based on the output that I give, it will ask me to go ahead from there. So basically, a small summary. This is the review plan, exploring major themes, character deep dives, and the supporting cast. It is asking me that should we jump to the first question of the notion of pride in the novel. So the moment when I say yes, it will take a few moments and it will tell me and start giving me information about it very briefly so as to help the reader ideate on this. Now, this is a indirect approach where we can have a different variety of use cases. And a very immediate use case which I can think of is that, let's say we have a topic that we are introducing newly to students, or if we are somewhere in the middle and we want students to sort of brainstorm on that idea and come up with innovative responses to our questions. A very interesting exercise that you can develop from this is to let students explore this option, provided if that is something the accessibility allows within the classroom, and get them to generate responses for the questions that we have asked. Also, simultaneously letting them, asking to write the answers on their own. So instead of preventing them from using this, letting them do a comparative study between their own answers versus the responses which are generated by, let's say, a medium like this, and thereby trying to integrate both the approaches so as to come up with a newer approach of where the major gaps are, or are there any major insights which the students have been able to come up with which Gemini has missed, or vice versa. If they have missed something and Gemini is indicating something towards that. In fact, this applies to any major chatbot that we can think of, right? So all of these modes that are available, whether it is guided learning in Gemini, whether it is study and learn in ChatGPT, sorry, whether it is learning coach in Gemini, or there's one more similar approach. This one can be found directly in the primary input window only under the tools tab, which is called guided learning. Now, while the learning coach gives us direct responses, guided learning is exactly similar to study and learn. So for example, I'll go with the same query. And the moment when I just give a very simple, I mean, the more detailed our prompt is, the better the responses would be. I've just now said that I want to learn about the novel Pride and Prejudice. And this is where, as we can see, the output differs. While the learning coach directly gives us some major insights to start from, guided learning, on the other hand, as the name suggests, asks us question, letting the user think and prompt and give answers. And let's say I want to go with the same prompt that we were, so we can get a better idea about the output, which is the major themes inside the text, which was what the learning coach was also doing. And now we might have one or two major questions again coming up. So like, for example, this one. And then on the basis of what kind of response I'm giving, it will come out with an output. So let's take this one and see what it comes up with. So this tries to follow the conventional method of exploring the text from various approaches. And as I was saying, we can see the output from, and this is where it majorly differs. It says that there's a central tension in the novel. It tries to talk about the theme a little bit, but it doesn't give a direct answer. This is the most interesting part. What it does is it refers back to an external source. I think there's a script page that it has found, which is a worksheet on Pride and Prejudice. And of course, we can directly open this also if we want to see the reference. And it asks the question, what reasons does Charlotte give for her decision to marry him? Let's say I'll write something, if let's say if I'm correct or not. And then in this way, by following an instructional based approach, it allows the learner to derive insights on the basis of the text or the topic that we have. So as we can see, it is also correcting me. While that's not exactly the reason has more to do with her age, which is both of the combined. If we have read the novel or if we have seen the film, there's this part in the movie which is the conversation between Charlotte and Elizabeth Bingley, the two characters in the novel, about around the discussions of the social conventions of marriage in this particular era. And this is what Elizabeth says. And then there is and then it also again asks a question. What does this statement reveal about what she prioritizes in a marriage? And then in this way, it continues forward. So it doesn't give answers directly. Instead, what it does is it prompts the user to think creatively and critically, respond in a word tactile medium that students are more used to, and maybe alongside the primary approach of writing a question or a set of questions, it might help us create a more better version of what exactly we're trying to look at. So this is another very interesting feature inside of Gemini. So for just to recap it very quickly, we have looked at three features so far. We have looked at Storybook, which allowed us to generate that audio-based PDF. We have looked at Learning Coach, which sort of gives very small inputs and insights on the topic or the query that we run. And then we have looked inside of the features right here. If I go to a new chat under Tools, which is guided learning, which creates this question-based approach to learning a topic. Now, Gemini not only helps us with all such in-classroom areas which it can address or help us with, it can also help us generate really good, I would not exactly say notes, because I don't think it replaces the original notes that we prepare on our own, but it really gives us a very good head start in terms of trying to collate all the information together. And this is something that is also available under ChatGPT. I forgot to show it yesterday, but it's by the same name. Some of us may have tried it already. It's called Deep Research. Here is what I found. Between comparing, I mean, if we compare just the two chatbots, ChatGPT and Gemini, I found Gemini's output of deep research to be slightly better in the way that it organizes the information. So we are going to run a query on this. We'll let the output generate because it will take a few minutes, and then we'll jump on to the next part of the demo, which is the indirect way by the means of which, so this was the direct way by using the chatbot directly. But there's another indirect method by the means of which we can utilize Gemini for specific tasks or queries that we have. We'll come back to it in a second, but let's just first generate a query on what we want to research. Let's say, for example, if I'm trying to learn a new topic, or if I'm trying to teach a new topic, something like suppose if let's say this is my topic. Now, deep research also works at a multi-staged approach. And before we come back to it, this was the primary source which guided learning referred to. This was a small PDF which it must have found, and from there it is borrowing those questions. So based on my query, what it will do is it will ask me a set of follow-up questions. And then based on my responses, it will go further and will generate an output from there. So this is what it has created, a set of checklist for itself, sort of, as to how it is going to and this is the interesting part, which separates deep research from a regular query that we run, which is the task that we give to the chatbot or the model that is operating behind it. It will break down the task into multiple subtasks and try to achieve them one by one. And it will do it in exactly, I mean, it tries to mimic the exact method that we would follow in trying to sort of start from the beginning or origin point of a topic and then go deeper and inward into it. So we can see that list right here. Begin by defining the terms, identify major schools of thought, major theoretical topics, and then it goes forward from there to evaluation, then analyze, report, and all of that. All I have to do is just start research, and it will start working. So now this is going to take a few minutes. We'll let this run in the background, and we'll go back to our next part. Now, this next two parts, I don't think I'll be able to show both today. One of them I'll have to show tomorrow, so I'll probably keep the classroom-based approach later for later. But for now, in if time permits, we'll do that. The next important feature that is available in Gemini, or that is available through Gemini, is this part right here. Let me see if it opens. Yeah, it's called Google Vids, and this is something which would not be available in a direct Gmail account that we are direct with direct. What I mean by direct is that I need to have access to a institutional email ID. So, for example, if I open my normal Gmail account, I cannot find that feature here. It's called Google Vids. This will be this one that I've opened. It's through my institutional ID that I'm operating. It would be found under those 9 dots. If you have, and I'm sure most of us have access to our email IDs. If we go there, we can simply go to those 9 dots which appear at the right corner of a mail ID, and we can access a feature called Vids. And when I click on Vids, or when you open Vids for the first time, this is what you get. And this is one of the another major approaches that Google has started to do, which is to allow us to create these really beautiful and interactive presentations that we can have in order to help us visualize them better. So there are really 4 ways by the means of which we can create those presentations. These are in moving video format. I can record my own overlap. Let's say I want to record a video lecture. I can do that, letting my slides play in the background. It would access the camera of my device, and then I can talk on it. And it allows us to do the same thing which we would normally do with a software like OBS Studio or the audio overview feature in Microsoft PowerPoint, where we used to create audio presentations. I can upload files from my devices, and I can directly create an output from there. I can also start from a blank template in case that's what I want to do, or simply the most easiest one, which we're going to look at right now, which is to convert a Google slide presentation into a moving template. So this is one of the sessions we took some time ago, I think 2 days back, on ethical use of AI. So I'm going to take that presentation, and I can take those slides, I can import them here, and it will allow me to open them in this entire moving format. Now from here, this is the workspace of Google Vids, where it shows us this timeline, where by the means of which we can do a lot of things. I'm still exploring this one, but it allows us to create this kind of a moving presentation. There are a lot of things we can do with this, the most basics of which are to create moving templates out of it. So let's see if it allows me to do it over the entire slide or not. No, I think I need to create an overlap. Okay, so templates won't come directly. I have to modify my text in order to suit them. Let me try and redo it. Let's see if it works. I just want to show what it looks like. I'll start from a blank video again. Yeah, let's start with a template. I think it will be better. So these are some of the template that it offers to us. Let's go with the one that we were looking at. And I'll select insert all scenes. Now from here, I can take this part. Each of this works like just like a Canva element. I'm doing a very basic editing right now. We can do a lot of changes. We can change everything right from color schema to text to inserting multiple slides, etc. And let me just do a basic editing and then we should be good to go. I think this we can keep as it is. This is the moving video, if I'm not mistaken. So this is another good example of what we can do. With moving slides like this, we can, so this is a moving video slide actually. There's a video that is supposed to play. Let me see if it plays. Yeah, it will play. So I can add a sound overlap on it. Let's say I have a small piece of audio sample I want the students to listen to. I can overlap this on this. It will play and the audio will play in the background. This is the part where I can edit the audio part. Okay, let's go ahead with the next slide. This I'll keep as it is. I just want to see what it looks like. Okay, this is good too. I think this much is fine. There is a audio background in the entire theme itself. Let me just stop sharing my screen and share the tab again, and we'll see what it looks like. Just give me a second. Let's do play. So now this one has two advantages. One is that, let's say I am not somebody who is really tech savvy in terms of trying to understand which color would go with which audio better. In that case, we have these pre-created templates which are ready to go. We just have to edit the content part into it. And for those of us who have used tools like Canva or Gamma before, this will be pretty easy to navigate because the entire toolbar is in fact right here, which from where we can, so this is the record option, which lets me overlap my own voice from here. And I can give recording options, camera plus screen or voiceover. Uploads will allow me to add on my own files, any text, any visual data I want to add. Stock images would allow me to add images from here, and we can see the amount of information that's available here. I can add stock videos depending on what I want to add here. Stock images, these are image files. Size, orientation, they've basically thought of everything. The background music that we just heard, what kind of music do we want to keep? This also can be changed. Emojis, depends what kind of activity we are doing. Sound effects, GIFs, and Google Images also. Then text allows us to add any text anywhere in this entire timeline. And shapes, of course, and then templates brings me back to this primary tab from where I can edit or delete or change the entire template if I want. So it's a pretty comprehensive platform. They're just experimenting with this right now, so it's still in the experimental phase, just like the one that was earlier with storybook mode. As time goes further, I'm pretty sure they'll develop this much more. And this part, I can adjust the orientation and the length, and this timeline allows me to basically keep a track of everything that I want to do. There's a toolbar menu right here, which in case I am stuck somewhere, There's a help section. Tools will allow me to check spellings. This is basically like our normal Microsoft Office toolbar that we would have, and it allows me to add or edit or text or anything that I want to do. So this is the next important upgradation which Gemini brings to us. I mean, the Google Suite brings to us. As I said, there's only one requirement with this. We need to have access to that institutional ID with which we can access this directly. And I can download this also. This is the best part. I can download this video as MP4 and it will download it for myself. So again, as I said, depending if I don't have the accessibility to play this online, simply it will take a few minutes, of course. And after that, we have the same. Let me stop sharing my screen so that we can see the entire version. Just a second, I'm resharing my entire screen. So this is the same version. I don't think the audio will be audible now, but yeah, this is a downloaded version of the same. In fact, this looks much better. So depending on what kind of output we're looking for, we can do this also. Now we come back to the query that we ran. And as I said, this is what the deep research of Gemini does. Let's first export it so that we can see it better. I can share it also. I can copy paste it manually, but I find exporting to docs is easier because it maintains the formatting of the document up to a very large extent. So let's just give it a few seconds. It should be opening. Yeah, there we go. So as I said, in some ways, the way that this is better than ChatGPT is two or three things. One is, of course, this organizational format that we see. There are sections and subsections that are created on the topic that we're looking for. It tries to bring in all the major keywords which are automatically highlighted for my reference. And alongside this, there would be, depending on where the requirement is, there would be overviews in the forms of tables, in the forms of charts, etc. if I ask for it. But this follows a descriptive plus paragraph based approach. But the best part is we see these numbers right here, which so this is what I'm talking about. See, these tables are there. We sort of provide an overview of the entire document of the entire section, and different subtopics are divided into different parts, and then there are further subsections. And then this is the part which I really like at the end, which really gives us a complete overview of where all it has borrowed itself from, which is a list of these very important works that are being cited. And most of them are hyperlinked. So I can simply open this and I can copy this link, or I can open it also if required. And most of the times they're authentic, as we can see, and it borrows its material from there. Pretty hefty document, about 37. Usually I've seen that it goes from 37 to 40 pages, depending on the topic that we have entered. However, despite all of this, two very important pieces of not advice per se, but two things which I would like to suggest. One is to definitely check and verify this, because even with all of this, even with all these sources and citations that it gives, not exactly citations, but references which it is borrowing from, there is a possibility that it can make a mistake sometimes. So that factual verification has to be done from our end. And secondly, most definitely utilize this as a starting point and develop the idea from there. Now I can do a lot of things with this. I can get a worksheet from here. I can create a set of, let's say, for example, give me a quiz of 10 MCQs with correct answers, and let me turn on deep research. Okay, this will start a new chat. So maybe I think I can turn it off, or maybe I can go to guided learning. That will be better. Yeah. So this is one thing that we need to sort of little bit be aware of. In case I don't want this to disappear and go to a new chat, I can just simply change the mode from right here so that it keeps referring back to the primary document. And we have this MCQ coming up right here. And this is something, another very interesting part about Gemini, where not only can I create those audio visuals, but I can also get these kind of interactive quizzes which I can play or do as a game inside of the classroom, inside Gemini itself. It's still generating, I think. So it gives a hint also. And on the basis of what I select, it says whether the answer is correct or not. Really quite innovative and quite illustrative in terms of the kind of discussion approach that I want to take based on the topic that I'm looking at. I'm randomly selecting answers, so not looking at the correctness of it. But there's an explanation that follows, so that is definitely done. There are 10 questions that are coming in because I asked for 10. So these kind of interactive exercises can be done, can be played inside the classroom or inside Gemini also. And I can share this as well. What this has done is it has opened Canvas mode. Now Canvas I have kept for now because Canvas of this and Canvas of ChatGPT we are going to be discussing separately. As I mentioned that I want to show certain features which are separate. So these kind of interactive activity based learning is something that we can also do with this, which I am keeping for one of the other sessions as we go ahead, because we're just getting started with these tools. Just scratch the surface with this. So I think we're exactly on time. I could not show the third part of this today. Tomorrow I'll go forward with Gemini, and then we'll circle back to Canvas and some of the other modes in ChatGPT as well as Gemini also. We have about 10 minutes with us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Please let me know if there are any questions or any experiences that you would like to share, and then we can move ahead with the session from there. Thank you so much for listening to me, and hope this was useful. So yeah, please let me know if there are any questions. Please feel free to unmute or post your question in the chat box.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Whatever you have said so far about the storybook and all other things, it is available only in the pro version or in the ordinary
No,
also,
no,
sir?
no, no. It will work with ordinary version also.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.